Hi, my name is Robert Shelley with Shelley Law, and my law firm assists practices with drafting employment contracts or independent contractor agreements for nurse practitioners. So today I'm going to go over 5 kind of major topics that need to be discussed when drafting a successful nurse practitioner contract. So the first thing that needs to be determined is how you are going to classify the NP. So are they going to be an employee or an independent contractor? So the IRS comes out with a 20-factor test that kind of lists a number of things to think about in determining whether someone is an employee or an independent contractor. I find many practices want to classify an NP as an independent contractor when in fact they most likely are not. Most of the time they do this to avoid paying employment tax. But it is important to classify them correctly. Now, obviously there are plenty of times where an NP could be an independent contractor. Maybe they're working for your practice occasionally, once a week, that type of thing, or the schedule is totally up to them. Making that determination then kind of informs the next one, which is the compensation structure. So for an NP in a private practice, we're not talking about being employed by a hospital or a healthcare network. Normally it would be a base salary, guaranteed base, a net collections based agreement where you get paid a percentage of whatever the practice collects on your personally performed services, or a combination of both. RVUs generally aren't used in private practice to determine a compensation for a nurse practitioner. So I find a combination of both is probably the best way of going about it, giving them a minimum guarantee, in addition to having a large portion of their comp tied directly to productivity, incentivizes the employee to work harder because they will make more money, and then also provides some stability to the practice because if the provider is not performing, you don't have to pay them their full guaranteed base. Next would be the restrictive covenants. So non-compete, non-solicit, probably the 2 most important. Obviously, if you're in a state where these non-competes are unenforceable, this isn't going to apply to you. However, the vast majority of states, they are enforceable. Kind of a nightmare scenario for practice owners to bring in an NP. Now, once again, this is kind of state specific because many states, NPs are not completely autonomous, although in some states they are. But even if a nurse needs a collaborating physician, if they leave the practice, they still can take the patients with them. So you need to think about the non-compete, how long it lasts, what's the geographic scope, and then when it comes to the non-solicit, they can't actively solicit patients or hire key employees as well. That's most important, so think about that. The next thing would be malpractice insurance, what type of policy you're going to utilize. Most smaller private offices use claims-made insurance. Tail insurance is necessary if it's a claims-made policy, but most of the time the offices will then put the burden of the tail cost on the NP. You can also use an occurrence-based policy, but it's about 1/3 more expensive, which is why most places use claims-made insurance and then shift the burden of tail cost on the NP. Saves them a little bit of money each year. And then the last thing would be the notice requirement. So any contract for an NP is going to have some kind of notice requirement. 60 to 90 days, kind of the industry standard. If you're a practice owner, the longer notice that they give you, the better, because then it gives you more time to replace them. Obviously, if you are the provider, you want shorter notice. Allows a little more flexibility and movement. So those 5 things can kind of make or break a successful nurse practitioner contract. If you have any questions or would like to draft a nurse practitioner employment agreement or independent contractor agreement, please contact my law firm at the contact information listed below in the description. Or if you have any questions, you can leave a comment on the video and I'll answer all of them. So anyway, hopefully this video was helpful. and appreciate you watching. Thanks. Bye.